Hello everybody, Raven Knight here. Today we're continuing our dive into the heroes of For Honor, analyzing them for their lore, their historical inspirations, their playstyle, their design, and their overall feel. I get asked quite a lot who my main is in For Honor. Well, it really depends on what you mean by main. If you mean the character I have the most reps with, well, that's Warden. But if you want the one I enjoy the most, it might well be this hero. The hero who infuriated everyone upon release, and still annoys a lot of players, but who I love to death, NUXIA. Like all the Wulin, NUXIA suffers from the unfortunate fact that she has very little lore to go off of. It's a truly sad state of affairs, but the whole Wulin faction has been so largely overlooked in terms of lore that we mostly can only speculate. So, to discuss NUXIA, I'll start by saying what we know for sure, and then I'll offer some further insight on my part. What we are told is, well, actually I can literally quote the wiki article to you, quote, NUXIA was the name given to female bodyguards during the Civil War. These skilled slayers usually roam the battlefield on their own terms, clawing and gutting prey with their hook swords, end quote. Yeah, that's all we got. That's literally all we got. So now let me offer my own insight. NUXIA present themselves with a very self-assured and cocky attitude. In fact, before the arrival of Virtuosa, the NUXIA were probably the women in For Honor with the most sass to offer, demonstrating the occasional cocky smirk or smile in her facial animations. NUXIA are also dancers, demonstrating an elegant and focused style of combat that reminds me of Chinese opera dancers. This leads me to believe that many NUXIA are entertainers or courtesans, or maybe even prostitutes, that have either been conscripted or willingly joined on as warriors for the chance at new lives, new opportunities, or just to escape the tethers of old fields of work. But again, that's all my speculation. Without more evidence, I can't say more, and I don't know if For Honor ever plans to give us more information on the Wulin. But knowing who she is only part of her identity. What about who she's based on? Well, for that, let's get into the history. If you want a more detailed breakdown of her historical roots, I would encourage you to watch my Heroes in History video on NUXIA. But for the time being, let me just say that this is not as cut and dry as you might think. There really is no one-to-one reference that can be drawn from, but rather a whole genre. The NUXIA are likely drawn from wuxia fiction characters, martial arts heroes who engage in adventures to challenge difficult odds within a world of combat and war, in which their way of battle may be unorthodox and yet incredibly effective. NUXIA, being a woman with an elegant and very controversial fighting style, allows her to appear very much like a wuxia heroine, and her ties to Chinese opera also could be a tie to how wuxia stories could often be portrayed in Chinese plays, operas, and TV. If you watch a lot of different martial arts shows or movies, you will notice that hook swords are rather common, or if they're not common, they're specifically set on a certain character who uses them in a unique way, and that character often emphasizes themselves as a very skilled martial artist or a rebel of some variety. Again, for a full breakdown on how NUXIA connects to the wuxia fiction, I encourage you to watch the Heroes in History vid that I created. Link will be in the description. So that's essentially what we can do to look at our history, and I know that's a little disappointing, but like I said, NUXIA is probably not a one-to-one reference to anything more than the Chinese fictional operas and plays and wuxia storytelling. But with that out of the way, now that we've talked about who she is and what she's based on, let's talk about the build and executions. Aside from Centurion, NUXIA is the only character who has capes for every outfit, unless of course they add a new character who does as well. You can approach NUXIA's design in one of three ways: the exotic and beautiful Chinese dancer, the cunning desert bandit, or the chick who threw on a helmet and ran out to play soldier. I've never been a big fan of the helmeted or desert bandit look, as they seem to look a bit off to me. I for one prefer most of the dancer style looks, my favorite one being this one right here, as it reminds me a little bit of Shampoo from Ranma. Yes, I know that there are other Chinese characters with their hair buns like that, but she was one of the first ones I saw in my childhood, okay? So I remember her first. Unfortunately, I made a serious mistake in my approach to NUXIA's design. I fell in love with one and have had a lot of trouble expanding beyond it. I have only made 3 official NUXIA designs right now. First of all, we have this one, who is my kind of battle fairy one. I really came up with the design recently when they made that fairy wing effect, and I thought it'd be cool on NUXIA. Then you have my legend, Lin Mei Hua, who is my favorite design for NUXIA, and a legend I highly recommend, the one that I love playing the most. And I gotta hate that, I hate to say it, but Lin Mei Hua has kind of spoiled me. I have trouble making any other NUXIA designs after her because I love her so much. And then you have Female Me. So, to explain how this worked, I was making my family in For Honor, my dad, my mom, my brother, and myself, but my audience wanted me to also make a female version of myself, since my friend Hannah always draws me as a woman, so NUXIA was the one everyone decided to make the female version of me, and yeah, that's how that worked, and we ended up making this. All in all, gotta say, looks good if I do say so myself. All in all, NUXIA has some really cool and beautiful designs, but like I said, I was spoiled by Lin Mei Hua, and now I just can't bring myself to make more right now. It's so hard for me to make more than her. I had to really push myself to make any more, but love Lin Mei Hua, and again, if you haven't heard her legend, go check it out. I highly recommend it. Now, as far as executions go, if you want to hear my full breakdown of the executions, you can watch my executions graded video series. That link will also be in the description, and in that series, I grade all of NUXIA's executions and give you an overall grade. I don't want to do that here, but what I can do is I can share my favorite and least favorite executions. My favorite execution from NUXIA is Coat Rack. I absolutely love Coat Rack because not only is it a rather quick execution, but it's so stylish. And I love that NUXIA basically brings all the different aspects of her hook swords into play here. Striking into the back of the neck with the blade and sticking it in, then catching the back with the hook so that it latches on and yanks out, pulling the body to the ground, spinning, and then striking in the bottom with not only the dagger ends at the bottom, but then the bottom of the crescent blades just looks so awesome. It is absolutely fast. It's absolute fire. It is worth getting. I love this execution. It is so good, and I have trouble thinking of any that top it. Now, when going over least favorite, it's a little bit harder for me because I like so many of her executions, but if I had to pick, I'd say Cross Moon Snap. The reason I don't like Cross Moon Snap as much is because when I think of NUXIA, I think of this girl who isn't that physically strong, but makes up for it with grace, elegance, and precision. All of her moves are going to be very fluid and elegant and showy, but Cross Moon Snap just looks like she's applying brute force to cut a person's head off. It doesn't emphasize her elegance or coyness. It doesn't emphasize her personality, and I have a lot of trouble believing that this would actually take off a head as effectively as it does. And yeah, it's just my least favorite to use. I very rarely use it on any of my NUXIA builds. If I've ever used it at all, I can't remember it. I'm just not a big fan of this one. If you like it, fine, but that is my least favorite. So, we've gone over just about everything, guys. We have looked at who they are. We've looked at where they come from. We have looked at their design. We've looked at all of the stuff that I think we can right now. The last thing we have to talk about, and the one y'all really care about, is how to play them. So, how do you play the NUXIA? Let's get into it. Alright, so when going over NUXIA's moveset, which is part of the reason I love her so much, NUXIA, you gotta understand, pissed so many people off when she first came out, because she brought a mechanic to the game that no other character had, and to many, it broke the rules of the game. So a lot of people accused her of being a broken character, you cannot play against her, and for that reason, she was nerfed a little bit, then just left behind for a little bit, then she got buffed again, and now I think she is in a perfect place. She is one of my favorite characters, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's break down the moveset. So, first of all, NUXIA has a 3-hit combo limit of light and heavy. So I can go light, 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 or I can go heavy, heavy, heavy. And you'll notice that on the third heavy of a combo, it will not only grab the opponent, but throw them in the direction. So it is one of the first examples of a displacer attack. And this can even be done from the top, if you'll allow me, bro. So it's very useful for throwing people around. The hook swords latch into the shoulders and just drag them places, so that can be very helpful. And, bro, come here, it can be used for wall splats as well, so watch this. Which gains another free heavy. So as you can see, that move can be very, very useful. And you can mix and match, so you can go light, heavy, light, or you can go heavy, light, light. And the lights come out really fast, so it can be very useful in just mixing things up and throwing off your opponent. Now, I also want to take a moment to say that this is the first assassin character that we're talking about, and all assassin characters have a move called a deflect. This is unique to the assassins except for Shaolin. Shaolin also has a deflect, and he's not an assassin, but Shaolin, when we get to him, I'll explain some other rules he breaks, but let's stick to NUXIA. A deflect is a move you can do to counter an opponent's attack. If you dodge in the direction of an opponent's attack at the moment it would land, so basically the flash indicator, you can dodge into it, avoid damage, and by pressing the right input key, you can actually do a retaliatory attack. For some characters like Berserker, this is a move where you can guard break, but for NUXIA, it is a free light attack which can free flow. So if my brother will please attack me. There is no way to avoid it. It allows for a free light and it avoids damage. One more time. Very cool stuff. Now, I will warn you, deflects are difficult to pull off a lot of the time unless you have really good reaction speed. Sometimes you may pull it off accidentally if you just happen to reflex dodge at the right time. But if you can pull it off right, it can be a really, really cool way to get in some quick damage and free flow into your combo. So do not sleep on the deflect. But now it's time to get into what makes NUXIA so terrifying, her trap attacks. Now, under normal circumstances in a fight, you want to throw your attack against a guard. So let's say my brother right now is guarding on his right, my left. If I attack from the top, he obviously didn't block it, but if I attack from his guard, he blocks it. That's the way the game works. If you attack a guarded position, you can't break through the guard and they don't take the damage. However, the trap attack is NUXIA's bread and butter. If you throw a heavy in the direction of your opponent's guard, and you cancel the attack by hitting the guard break button, as in you soft feint it with a guard break, you will grab their guard and strike through it, like so. And notice that does 22 damage. Let's do it again. And this can be done from any direction, so if we change it up to the right, or the top. And this can be done with any heavy in the combo. So I could start with heavy, heavy, or I could go heavy, trap. Now, a lot of people hate this move so much because in their mind, it breaks the rules of the game. The rules of the game say if I guard, I'm protected. NUXIA works right through the guard, which is beautiful. However, there's a cost to it. Doing a trap attack where they are not guarding, so if my brother guards from the top and I attack his right side, nothing happens. And I'm just wasting stamina. But don't worry, you have an answer. Let's say that I whiff, I can still free flow into a light. So it's not like I can't do anything.
So as you can see, this move is very, very useful. Even if you miss, you can still flow into a light. But be careful, your opponent may expect it and try to do a light parry. So be very, very careful. Now, another thing that we need to talk about is NUXIA Zone. Believe it or not, NUXIA Zone used to be really, really bad, but they've updated it. Now the zone looks like this. Bro, if you would mind blocking on my left, your right. Notice the speed of that zone. It is really fast, and it's a two-tone strike. It's a great minion clear ability as well. But now you don't have to guard there, please. Notice how it does 11, then 24 on the second attack. So if it hits both times, that is a massive 35 damage zone attack. Is that not incredible? One more time. Which is why you usually want to try to block it, right? That's not something you want to eat both times, which is where we get into her zone trap. The zone trap of the NUXIA is insane. Behold this move. Now it does, hold on, consider this. If they block the first part of the zone, that's 2 damage. But if they stay blocking and you trap them, that's 28 damage for a max of 30 damage. So consider this. That means that you can either get 35 by hitting them twice or 30 by getting them with the trap. Is that not nuts? That is a crazy good move, and I absolutely love it. I know a lot of people hate it, but it is their instinct to want to guard. That's the beauty of NUXIA. Every player who's been playing this for a certain amount of time has learned the instinctive, I need to guard or I need to parry. Those are my 2 options. I need to guard or parry an attack, and NUXIA plays off of that instinct. And you might be thinking, okay, Raven, but are there any other ways to avoid the trap attack? There are. You can do a dodge attack. So if I try to go for a trap and my brother does a dodge bash, and 3, 2, 1, I can still miss because he dodged out of the way of it. Let's do it one more time. 3, 2, 1. Had to help him with the timing there. And it can also work on the trap attack too, but we're not going to do that right now. You get the point that I'm making. There are ways to avoid it. Another way to avoid it, and Lark was actually just showing me, if you emote, you have no guard. Lark, emote for me. Lots of players will tease NUXIA by emoting when they throw a heavy, by just going, I know you're going to throw a trap, I'm going to emote and avoid your trap altogether. But there is a risk to that. Emote again for me. Because if they do that, I might just decide, you know what, I'm just going to whiff the heavy. And they never expect it. They never expect that I might just whiff that heavy. And the reason they think that is because so many NUXIAs who are trying them out for the first time want to spam that trap attack. So they just don't realize that this NUXIA might be smooth-brained and just want to throw those heavies. So as you can see, NUXIA is pretty stinking awesome. Trap attacks for days, a really good deflect, lots of lights and heavies to use, and a displacement heavy, and a really, really strong zone attack. Overall, NUXIA is, in my opinion, a really incredible character. You can get a lot of stuff out of them for very little. Again, just a very overall fun character to play. If you haven't picked up NUXIA, I highly recommend it. In my opinion, they are one of the best assassins in the game and very much slept on. So I think, oh, last thing that I meant to mention, I apologize. There was one last thing I meant to mention about the trap attack. The trap attack can also counter parries. Lark, if you would mind trying to parry this attack. One more time. And it can also counter crushing counters. Now, Lark knows that the top light attack is a crushing counter. So if he tries to crush and counter my attack, there we go. We got it that time. We got it that time. No, we got it that time. We got it that time. We were just mistiming it. Anyway, no, don't feel bad. You did fine. Anyway, so that is all I have to say about NUXIA right now. I absolutely love her moveset. I love how she functions. She is such a fun character to use. I hope you guys will pick her up and try her. But before I go, I love NUXIA, and I think she is my main, but I am most certainly not the best NUXIA in the world. I definitely have work to do, but there is someone I know who is the #1 NUXIA in the world. It is ABreakNRun himself, and I have asked him to share some of his tips and tricks about how to use NUXIA. So I will turn it over to ABreakNRun for his take on NUXIA. Take it away, Abreak.
Hello everyone, ABreakNRun here. Sir Raven asked me to do a small recording showing you some tips and tricks for NUXIA. Nowadays I play everybody, but back in the day when the Wulin were introduced, NUXIA was the character that I picked up since not many people played her, and I haven't regretted it ever since. Some small things about her kit. Her heavy finishers are one of the biggest parts of her kit and the biggest threatening part, because if she throws them towards the direction of the heavy, which means 30 plus 24 damage, you have 54 damage if you land the wall plus chain pressure continuing. So it's really, really good. Plus, you can even leverage them. Her zone is really good to throw into her string, but it costs a lot of stamina. So it's best to use them on like the first part. Like if you're going to kill with the first part of the zone, which is 11 damage, you're going to go ahead and, you know, throw it there. But 24 damage is the biggest thing, to make sure to get them to react and punish them for reacting for that. So you can hit them with the light, and they're like, oh no, I'm gonna get hit. That's when you're able to feint into the GB, feint into the trap, feint into nothing, get them to react to punish them for it. And our game plan is really just to pepper you with lights until you start going, oh, okay, like this NUXIA's just gonna throw lights, and then she hits you with the heavies and is able to really catch you doing really dumb shit. And that's when afterwards you start hitting with traps to really get that salt flowing. So remember, pepper before you salt. And some small things about her Dominion feats. Like her caltrops are not best to go for minion lane anymore, as they do destroy your minions and they don't stay as long. So making sure to like use them if you're in the middle of a fight, to throw them down and to stall out for opponents. If you've already cleared the minion lane, and let's say like this seam of the door is your minion lane line where you have captured it, it's best to throw them about right here, far away from the line, so that your minions aren't being hit by your caltrops while you're out there. Don't put them over here, you will kill your minions. Deadly Duet is really good for backcap situations and looking to take the 1v1 on a hurt opponent, especially if they're getting like really low, like to go ahead and use that momentum to pick them off. But it's best to have it as a roamer, just so like if your teammate's hurt and you're like, I'm gonna save you, teammate, and now they're going to go away and heal, now you get that extra buff while you're in that 1v1. Bounty Hunter is technically best if you're always fighting by yourself, and if you're not with a team, just for the self-preservation of getting the kill, getting full stamina when you get the kill, a good chunk of health. So just keep that in mind. And if you are running the Thread of Fate feat, it's not great, but you can use it in a combo with Corruption. So if you have a enemy that is like, let's say a Kyoshin who's in stance, or Black Prior looking to defend in a 2v1 situation where like they are the ones outnumbering your teammate, you could hit that Black Prior with that Thread of Fate so that they can't like unlock and roll away. They have to dodge roll out of the way. Then throw Corruption on him to make him move. And that becomes your target while you're in the middle of that fight. And some small tidbits as well. Did you note that since her heavies are traps, they can actually parry if they're inputted in the parry window. So if you see like someone going in for an attack and maybe they have crushing counters like a warlord who's throwing a heavy, you could technically go for the parry, throw a trap, and it will stop them from throwing out the crushing counter. And her deflex used to be 30 damage and they used to be parryable, so now that, you know, they've lowered her down, her damage, made them like unparryable, they're not as fun to do anymore. And she is actually the one hero that has had the least amount of buffs or nerfs in the entire game. My poor NUXIA. One day she'll get something, but right now with how she currently is, she's just hard to play. Kind of need a brain to play her. But I hope this has helped. Back to you, Mr. Raven Knight.
And that should wrap everything up. I want to thank you so much, ABreakNRun, for helping me out and making this NUXIA video. I really appreciated the tips and tricks you added. Always nice to get someone else involved in making these videos. It's great to get in these pro players who know the characters even better than I do. If you guys want to check out ABreakNRun's channel, go look in the description below. I will leave a link to his channel down there below. Go subscribe to the guy. He is a really goated and very underappreciated For Honor channel. And that is all we have to say about the NUXIA. Final thoughts, NUXIA is one of my favorite characters, if not my most favorite character to play. She is absolutely a beast in 1v1s. She's not that great in 4s, but she can be used effectively if you know what you're doing. And her trap attack, while some people hate it, I think is a really cool element to the game that only she brings, making her such a unique and fun hero. So that's why I love NUXIA. Can't wait to play her again. She's one of my faves. I hope you guys will pick her up too if you haven't. And I will see you guys in my next video. Take care.